Are you exhausted from the endless battle with your finances, feeling trapped in a cycle of scarcity despite your best efforts? Does it gnaw at you that no matter how many hours you pour into your work, the chains of financial strain refuse to loosen? Do you ever sense an unseen barrier standing between you and the prosperity you know you're capable of achieving? Have you noticed how wealth seems to glide effortlessly into the lives of some, while you're left navigating a maze of obstacles at every step? What's it like when your paycheck barely stretches to cover the essentials, rent, groceries, bills, leaving your dreams to gather dust on a shelf? Have you ever paused to consider that the root of your money troubles might lie far beneath the surface, tangled in something more profound than a string of unlucky breaks or insufficient hustle? What if I told you that your financial woes aren't tied to the ups and downs of the stock market, the limitations of your job title, or even the sharpness of your mind? What if the true culprit was a subtle, invisible force etched into your being long ago, quietly steering your money story from the shadows of your past? Imagine discovering that this force could be rewritten, almost like flipping a switch, to unleash a torrent of wealth and opportunity you once thought was out of reach. Picture a life where abundance isn't just a distant fantasy, but a tangible reality flowing toward you with ease. For countless individuals, the struggle with money goes beyond sloppy budgeting or a lack of lucky breaks. Often, the real saboteur is something much sneakier, a childhood laced with toxic influences that planted deep-seated beliefs about wealth, achievement, and personal value. Think about it, how you were brought up, the offhand comments you overheard about rich people being greedy, or the constant refrain that money doesn't grow on trees might have burrowed into your young mind, taking root as unshakable truths. Maybe you watched your parents wrestle with debt, their stress seeping into your own views on what's possible. Or perhaps you were praised for playing it safe, subtly taught that dreaming big was a luxury reserved for others. These early experiences don't just fade with time, they weave themselves into the fabric of your subconscious, silently dictating how you approach money as an adult. But how exactly does this play out? How can the echoes of a parent's sigh over unpaid bills or a teacher's warning to be realistic morph into a lifelong blockade against financial success? It starts with the stories you internalized, narratives that money is scarce, that success requires relentless sacrifice, or that you're simply not the type to make it big. These ideas harden into mental blueprints, guiding your decisions in ways you might not even notice. You might shy away from bold career moves, undervalue your skills when negotiating a raise, or feel a pang of guilt when spending on yourself. Over time, this programming becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, keeping abundance at arm's length. The good news? It's not set in stone. By peeling back the layers of your past, you can uncover these hidden scripts and begin dismantling them, step by step, to reclaim the financial freedom that's been eluding you. How do you start untangling this web, and what might life look like once you do? Welcome to Zen Companion, your sanctuary for wisdom, abundance, and inner healing. Here we embark on a journey of transformation, uncovering the hidden truths that shape our lives and unlocking the limitless potential within. Join little Zen and his friends as we explore the path to enlightenment, balance, and prosperity. But before we continue, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share in the comments, "I forgive my parents and choose abundance." Your words and energy help our community grow, spreading light to others. Now, let us begin. The seeds of your financial mindset were planted long before you ever clocked in for your first shift or cashed your first paycheck, taking root in the fertile soil of your earliest years. Childhood isn't just a time of scraped knees and fleeting joys. It's a crucible where your subconscious mind soaks up the world around you like a sponge, quietly forging the beliefs that will steer your life's course. Every hushed conversation about tight budgets, every furrowed brow over a stack of bills, Every casual quip about money's scarcity or the moral failings of the wealthy, these weren't just background noise. They were lessons, etched into your young psyche with a permanence you might not even recognize today. If your home was a place where money was a constant source of tension, where every purchase was a calculated risk, or where phrases like "we can't afford that," "wealth is for the fortunate few," or "rich folks got there by stepping on others," were part of the daily soundtrack, those echoes didn't simply vanish with time. They wove themselves into the tapestry of your identity, subtly sculpting how you view and interact with money well into adulthood. Growing up in such an atmosphere often breeds a scarcity mindset, a lens so ingrained you might not even see it tinting your reality. This isn't just about pinching pennies. It's a core conviction that resources like money are perpetually out of reach, that stability is a fleeting guest, and that abundance is a fairy tale for someone else. Picture a childhood where your parents stretched every dollar until it frayed, where heated debates over utility costs were routine, or where the specter of debt loomed like an uninvited shadow. Your subconscious didn't just observe, it internalized the message that struggle is the natural order of things, that financial ease is an exception, not a rule. As an adult, this translates into habits and choices you might not even question, hesitating to invest in yourself, clinging to the safety of the familiar rather than chasing a bold opportunity, or viewing wealth with a mix of longing and suspicion. If you absorb the idea that money taints those who have it or that striving for more makes you selfish, you might find yourself dodging paths to prosperity without even realizing why, stuck in a loop of just enough when more is within your grasp. But the ripples of a toxic childhood don't stop at how you see money. They spill over into how you see yourself, coloring your confidence, your ambitions, and your willingness to claim what you're worth. If your early years were marked by a steady drip of criticism, dismissal, or the sinking feeling that you'd never measure up, those scars didn't vanish when you stepped into adulthood, they hitched a ride. They linger in the way you shrink from asserting your value, the way you let opportunities slip by because you're not sure you deserve them. People shaped by such environments often find themselves undercharging for their talents, tiptoeing around salary talks as if they're trespassing, or settling into roles that barely tap their potential, all because a quiet voice from the past whispers they're not cut out for more. They might cringe at the thought of building wealth, as if it's a privilege reserved for a different kind of person, someone braver or more inherently worthy. This gnawing sense of inadequacy builds an unseen wall, capping their financial horizons not because they lack ability, but because they've been conditioned to doubt their right to rise. How does this play out in the choices you make today, and what might shift if you could start rewriting that story? Beyond the sting of emotional neglect, the financial chaos swirling within a household can carve deep grooves into your psyche, leaving marks that steer your money habits long after you've left the nest. If your childhood was a front-row seat to a parade of reckless spending, impulsive splurges on fleeting thrills, a mountain of credit card bills piling up like unopened mail, or a reliance on others to foot the bill, those scenes didn't just play out and fade. They sank into your subconscious, sketching a rough map of how money works that you might still be following without even knowing it. Some people find themselves mirroring these missteps as adults, chasing the high of a quick purchase, letting debt creep up like an old habit, or fumbling through budgets with the same haphazard energy they once watched unfold. Others swing hard in the opposite direction, gripped by a quiet terror of money's unpredictability. They clutch every penny, haunted by the specter of loss, shying away from investments as if they're a gamble not worth taking, or stashing away cash while skimping on life's small joys, all under the shadow of a belief that financial ground could crumble at any moment. These aren't quirks or coincidences, they're echoes of a childhood soundtrack, playing on repeat in the background of every bank statement and bill. The silver lining in this tangled mess? You're not doomed to live out this script forever. The heavy baggage of a toxic upbringing and its chokehold on your financial life isn't a permanent tattoo, It's more like a chalk drawing you can smudge away with the right tools. That subconscious coding, the one keeping you tethered to scarcity or chaos, isn't fixed in stone. It can be rewired, and the shift can ripple through your life faster than you might expect. The trick is cracking open those mental habits you didn't choose, peeling away the layers of false ceilings you've been living under, and stepping into a story where prosperity, achievement, and a steady footing aren't just pipe dreams, they're yours to claim. Imagine shedding the weight of those old patterns and watching opportunities unfold like a landscape after a storm clears. It all starts with waking up to what's been running the show. You've got to be brave enough to shine a light on the beliefs you've been carrying, pick them apart, and hold them up to scrutiny. Most people lug around financial scripts they don't even know are there, tucked away in the corners of their minds like forgotten luggage. Did you grow up with a chorus of "money's a dirty word" ringing in your ears? Were you told time and again that folks like us don't climb that ladder, or that you'll always be scraping by, so get used to it? Maybe you heard that chasing wealth was a fool's errand, or that comfort was a luxury for other people, not you. Those words might have felt like throwaway lines back then, but they didn't just bounce off, they burrowed in, becoming the lens through which you see every paycheck, every chance, every dream. The power kicks in when you spot them for what they are, not facts carved in granite, but hand-me-down viewpoints, stitched together from the fears, frustrations, and narrow worlds of the adults who raised you. So ask yourself, do these ideas hold water, or are they just shadows cast by someone else's struggles? Are they laws of nature, or just one family's story, frayed at the edges and ready to be rewritten? Once you've pinpointed those stubborn mental barriers, the real work begins, rewiring your subconscious mind from the ground up. This isn't about slapping a smile on your face and hoping for the best. It's a deliberate, hands-on process of reshaping the very framework of your beliefs, right down to the wiring in your brain. Science backs this up. Your neural pathways aren't fixed like concrete. They're more like clay, moldable through consistent effort, focused thinking, and a dash of emotional energy. One way to kick this into gear is by leaning on tools like affirmations, vivid mental imagery, and soaking in perspectives that lift your financial ceiling. Swap out the old tape that drones, "Wealth's out of my league," for a fresh one that says, "I've got everything it takes to build a fortune." Ditch the worn-out line, "Money's a grind to get," and try on, "Cash rolls my way like water down a stream." At first, these new thoughts might feel like borrowing someone else's clothes. Awkward, ill-fitting, maybe even a little fake. That's your subconscious pushing back, clinging to decades of gloomier programming. But stick with it, repeat them daily, picture the life they promise, feel the excitement in your bones, and your brain starts to buy in, rewiring itself to see these as your new reality. Over time, this shift doesn't just change your headspace, it reshapes how you move through the world and pulls prosperity closer. Then there's another layer to this transformation, reaching back to mend the tender younger you still carrying yesterday's bruises. Your money troubles often aren't just about dollars and cents, they're tangled up in old emotional knots, the kind that twist into self-doubt, a quiet dread of winning big, or a knack for letting wealth slip through your fingers. Inner child healing steps in here, asking you to turn toward that wide-eyed kid who soaked up the world's harsh lessons with a gentleness you might have forgotten. It's about meeting that younger self with kindness, not judgment, maybe through scribbling a heartfelt note to them, sinking into a quiet meditation that calls them forward, or sitting with a therapist who knows how to navigate those murky waters. This isn't just feel-good fluff, it's a way to face the hurt you've buried, the sting of hearing you'd never amount to much or that money's a monster to wrestle. By giving that past pain a voice instead of shoving it down, you start to loosen its grip. Those old scripts, the ones whispering you're not worthy of plenty, begin to fray, making room for a new story where abundance isn't a stranger, but a guest you're ready to welcome in. What might shift when you stop running from that little kid and start listening instead? Just as transformative as any inner work is the profound impact of the company you keep and the influences you let seep into your life. The environment you were molded in as a kid, whether it was a cramped space of penny pinching, a whirlwind of financial recklessness, or a chorus of complaints about how the world hoards its riches, left its fingerprints all over your money mindset. But here's the kicker: you're not chained to that legacy. If your childhood was a masterclass in making do with less, dodging bill collectors, or watching cash vanish into impulsive whims, you can rewrite that narrative by flooding your world with vibes of wealth, opportunity, and savvy stewardship. Your brain's a living thing, always remodeling itself based on what you feed it, so why not serve up a feast of inspiration? Dig into memoirs from rags to riches trailblazers who turned grit into gold, stream talks from money mavens who break down prosperity into bite-sized truths, or scroll through platforms where everyday folks share their wins over financial quicksand. Hunt down role models, maybe a friend who budgets like a pro or an online figure who invests with quiet swagger, and soak in their approach. If the voices around you still hum the same old tune of scarcity or cynicism, widen your lens. Join forums buzzing with ambition, attend workshops where ideas spark, or follow social feeds that trade despair for doable steps. Study how those who've mastered money carry themselves, their calm in chaos, their knack for spotting a good bet, their ease with planning ahead. Drench yourself in this new ecosystem, day after day, and those old scars from a cash-strapped past start losing their grip, crowded out by a growing sense that abundance isn't just possible, it's yours to shape. And then you've got to roll up your sleeves and dive into the messy, thrilling work of action, because dreaming without doing is like sketching a masterpiece and leaving it uncolored on the easel. This is where the sparks of your imagination catch fire, where your evolving mindset solidifies into something tangible, something you can hold up to the light and call your own. Carve out goals that pulse with energy, specific, audacious, yet within reach, like snagging the keys to a home that's yours alone, wiping out debt that's been trailing you like a shadow, or finally booking that plane ticket to a destination you've traced on maps since you were a kid. Peel back the layers of spending traps you've inherited. Maybe it's the itch to blow cash when life gets heavy, the cycle of grabbing bargain bin junk that falls apart in a month, or the quiet shame that nudges you to hoard rather than invest in yourself with intention. Push beyond the narrow lane of a single paycheck. Experiment with a side gig that hums with possibility, like crafting goods that strangers clamor to buy, spinning your expertise into freelance gold, or turning an idle asset into a steady drip of income. Wade into the waters of wealth building, dip a toe in with a high-yield savings account that quietly compounds, soak up insights from podcasts about navigating the stock market or flipping properties, or sit down with someone who spun a modest start into a sprawling empire. Each choice you make, every dollar you reroute, every trick you master, sends a clear signal to your deeper self. This isn't a fleeting whim, this is the person you're shaping into being. It's less about the math and more about stepping into a version of you that wields money as a lever, not a looming question mark. Picture the ripple effect, how a single shift in habit could unlock doors you didn't even know were there, how a new skill could tilt the ground beneath your feet towards something bigger. Your financial path doesn't have to be a worn-out hand-me-down from your past, no matter how threadbare or tangled its roots. The heaviness of growing up with empty pockets, chaotic lessons, or hushed tales of money as a villain doesn't get to dictate your story. You're the one holding the pen now, free to sketch a fresh outline. It kicks off with poking at those brittle beliefs you were raised on, like you've got to bleed for every penny, or ambition's a fool's game, and watching them dissolve when you shine a light on their shaky foundations. Then you rebuild. Flood your head with new ideas from every angle, whether it's savoring a crisp paragraph over coffee, soaking in a documentary about someone who defied the odds, or swiping through raw, real accounts of triumph on your phone as the clock ticks past midnight. Match that with bold, concrete moves, shedding habits that weigh you down, chasing ventures that hum with potential, collecting victories that stack like bricks, and you're not just nibbling at change, you're shattering the whole mold. Those ceilings you were born under? They're not carved in stone, they're just ghosts of someone else's doubts, and you can outpace them with every step. As you tease apart those old threads, probing, reshaping, acting, you might find yourself startled by how fast the walls give way, how effortlessly prosperity starts to gather, like it's been hovering nearby, patient for you to reach out and claim it. Imagine what might unfurl when you drop the dead weight of yesterday and stride forward unburdened, how the air feels different, how the horizon stretches wider, how the ground itself seems to rise to meet you. Now that you've waded through the depths of this stirring insight, what's swirling in your mind? Did it crack open a window to fresh angles on the money struggles that have shadowed your steps, maybe even sketching a clearer trail toward a kind of prosperity that feels real and within grasp? Do you sense the tangled threads of your past starting to loosen, their knots making a strange kind of sense at last, giving you permission to shrug off the heavy cloak of beliefs that once pinned you in place? And what about your parents, whether they're still here, sharing the air with you, or have slipped beyond reach into memory? Does something in you stir, a quiet urge to untangle forgiveness, not just for their stumbles but for your own, to cut loose the emotional ropes that have tethered you to old hurts? Transformation sparks in that first flicker of awareness, like a match struck in the dark, but the blaze of real change only catches when you fan it with action. The understanding you've gathered here, sharp and alive as it is, holds power only if you wield it. Otherwise, it's just a whisper lost in the wind. Are you tempted to let these revelations drift away, fading like a half-remembered dream, or do you feel a pull to seize the reins of your financial future, to scratch out the old script and pen something entirely your own? Picture the possibilities, how a single step could shift the rhythm of your days, how a bold choice might echo into a life that feels less like a rerun and more like a story you're crafting line by line. What might happen if you lean into this moment, if you let it nudge you toward a version of yourself that's been waiting to break through? The next move belongs to you alone. Thank you for taking this journey with us today. Your presence here means you are ready to embrace transformation, healing, and abundance. If this message resonated with you, let this be just the beginning of a deeper awakening. Take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join our growing community of seekers on the path to wisdom and prosperity. And before you go, share with us in the comments, what is the most profound experience you've had with your parents? Whether joyful or painful, every experience carries a lesson, and by sharing, you might inspire someone else on their path to healing. Stay connected, stay open, and may your journey be filled with light and abundance.